This is an INGENIUM University podcast.
Hello and welcome to the first episode in this series of the INGENIUM Podcast, where we explore the stories behind the INGENIUM European University Alliance. My name is Thomas Broderick. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Sport, Leisure and Childhood Studies here in Munster Technological University, where I teach modules in health, exercise and sport and physical education. I'm also a senior fellow and member with Advance HE.
And my name is Jeremiah Spillane. My background is in musicology, music technology and education. And I work here at MTU with the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning. So just to add, both Tom and I are really interested in the podcasting space. Tom, you run the MTU Wellbeing podcast, and I have a musicology podcast called Lines on Music. So we're both really excited to put together this podcast for INGENIUM. I guess the first question then really is, why the need for an INGENIUM podcast? What are we trying to achieve here with this initiative?
Well, Jeremiah, as you said, we both enjoy listening to podcasts and we both recognise the value as a medium to share stories. So what we will do is meet people that make up the INGENIUM Alliance and have open conversations with them to hear about the work that they are doing as part of INGENIUM. Ultimately, we'd like to evidence and showcase the exciting work of the INGENIUM project. And hopefully, I suppose in some way, this podcast will bring our INGENIUM community together. So if you haven't yet had the opportunity to attend maybe one of the 10 days INGENIUM events or other INGENIUM in-person events, this will be a great opportunity to hear from people working in your university and across the Alliance.
So the best place then to begin this first series of the INGENIUM podcast is in conversation with Dr. Ana Isabel Álvarez González. So by way of a brief introduction, Dr. Álvarez González is an associate professor at the University of Oviedo, specialising in English philology within the Department of English, French and German Philology. In addition to her academic role, Dr. Álvarez González serves as the director of the INGENIUM University Alliance. Under her leadership, INGENIUM has initiated several key projects, including the 10 Days of INGENIUM, which fosters intercultural exchange and academic collaboration among partner institutions.
Yes, Jeremiah, great to have the director joining us today from the University of Oviedo. And we began the conversation by asking Anna about the university and the surrounding area.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I am a lecturer at the University of Oviedo, and when we say University of Oviedo, sometimes we should actually be using the term University of Asturias, which is the region where the university is set. The small region in the northern coast of Spain, around 1 million inhabitants. And there's only one public university here, which is the University of Oviedo, which is a comprehensive university, which is more than 400 years old. The fact that we are the only university in the region that were funded by the regional government, right, is, we think, an advantage for us, because we have the opportunity, right, to adapt to the needs of the area in our educational offer, and also, right, most our students, right, are locals, right, but actually, right, we also receive quite a large number of students from other parts of Spain, and also an important number of international students. At this moment, we have something like 20,000 students in the whole, which around 3,000 are postgraduates, and the rest are undergraduates. And we have a clear bond with American countries, especially South America, right, because of the history of the region. There was a lot of immigration from this region into America in the 19th and 20th century. So we've got lots of international programs or international relations with some universities in South America. But of course, we also have this European dimension, and we are really engaged in, of course, programs like Erasmus and other mobility programs. Actually, on the international dimension, we are working towards a number of bilingual pathways using English and Spanish for the training of our students, because we think that most of them will need to be proficient both in English and Spanish for the future professional life. So this is on the academic side. On the side of what Oviedo is, what Asturias is, right? We are very proud of our region, right? Of its landscape, of its culture, of its friendliness toward visitors. And I must say that international students, for example, always leave us with the sense of belonging to Oviedo and to Asturias for the rest of their lives. This is a friendly region full of life and full of activity, right? So both the university and the region, right, are places I would like anyone listening to think of visiting.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, and I think, I'm sure the culture there is incredible. The music, I'm sure, and hopefully there's an invitation for myself and Tom to come and visit at some point. Hopefully.
Oh yes, do feel invited. And talking about music, you would be surprised, right? Because when people think of Spain and music and culture, they tend to be surprised when they hear our bagpipes and they hear our music that sounds much more like Celtic music and Irish music than the flamenco thing that people may think about.
Yeah, and when you mentioned Asturias there as well, I thought of that, that very famous classical guitar piece, Asturias. Very interesting. So hopefully we'll have the opportunity to come visit you there at some point. So I guess leading on, the next question we kind of had in mind was maybe to find out a little bit more about your role as the director of INGENIUM. So the INGENIUM University Alliance, you're the director. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, first thing I need to tell is that I've been appointed to this position by the University of Oviedo, because Oviedo is the coordinator of the Alliance, right? So the role of director, right, is something that, in a sense, depends on the coordinating institution. So I would say that my role here is a combination of coordination, representation, and managerial tasks. On the one hand, I act as chair of the steering committee, which is actually the one that makes most managerial decisions, and also reports to the Alliance Council, where we have all the rectors and all the presidents of the different universities. So I'm usually the one reporting to the Alliance Council. So this means that I must keep close contact with all partner universities, with all the representatives, and must, in a sense, coordinate all actions. And on the other hand, I also supervise the work of the technical secretariat of the Alliance with all the different functions that are assigned to them. So I have this kind of dual job here, right? One toward the Alliance and one toward the technical secretariat itself.
Thanks for taking us through that. And is there anything that you're excited about at the minute, or that, what excites you about your work and your role as director?
We're coming to a turning point, right? Because so far, I always say that we have been devising some of the building blocks for the Alliance, like, the common quality assurance framework, or even the shared learning platforms, or we've been unifying views on a number of things. And now we're really getting to it, right? Because we are taking steps, very solid steps, toward the implementation of a number of joint degrees, right? So hopefully spring 25, right, will come full of news in this aspect, which I think is actually a key area, right, in the evolution of the Alliance. So that's really what has us more focused on at the moment, right? And it's like beginning to see that all these coordination and all these analysis that we've been doing so far is coming to a true moment, right, of achievement.
And that's probably at a higher level, and you've got there people. So I'm trying to maybe think of the student listener here, and someone that's part of the University Alliance. Maybe think of you walking around campus, the beautiful Oviedo there you described, and maybe a student walks up to you and they ask you, like what is the INGENIUM Alliance? What would you say to that student, and why should they know about the Alliance?
Thank you for mentioning students, because sometimes when we are, thinking of European alliances and management and committees and things, we tend to sometimes, in a way, forget about the actual recipients of all our efforts, who are the students, present and future. I mean, we're working for them. And something that I remember Professor Constantini from Italy, from UDA, once saying to some of the students, whatever we do it for you. We do it for the students. So what do we have for them at the moment, right? Right now, right, we have a number of opportunities for students, right, based on mobility, based on short-term mobility, long-term mobility, and on cooperation, right? But actually, maybe one of the first things that we need to tell them is what INGENIUM is, what the Alliance is, because sometimes, it's something that they see at the corner in the website of the university, or they see some signs, but they don't really know what this is about. So first thing we need to explain is that when we speak of a university alliance like INGENIUM, right, this is part of a larger scale project, right, that was devised by the European Commission. There's something called the European Alliance Initiative, or European University Initiative. There are actually 64 of these at the moment. And what the European Commission, right, aimed at, right, when devising this initiative, right, was first of all to improve the competitiveness of higher education institutions in Europe, to promote European values, and to do this by combining efforts, right, of already existing institutions. So these consortia, these alliances, right, bring a number of already existing universities together, right, toward a common aim, which is creating joint educational programs, right, and also, right, to take advantage, right, of all the facilities and all the different projects that they may combine. So in this case, INGENIUM brings 10 different European universities together, from north to south, east and west, right? Actually, we always say that we are the Alliance of Diversity. We have 10 countries, 11 languages, and very different types of universities in the Alliance. We have a medical university, we have some polytechnical universities, we have comprehensive universities like Oviedo and Crete, for example. And the idea is, right, to become a completely integrated European university with 10 campuses and a joint educational offer, having at the center ideas like innovation, inclusiveness, and sustainability. So, right, this is a very, very complex aim to achieve, right? But really, we are taking the correct steps toward it at the moment, right? We already are devising joint programs, and we have already, right, started with a number of opportunities for students. Many of them, I hope, have heard of events like the so-called 10 Days of INGENIUM, right? We've had some editions in MTU in Cork, in UDA in Italy, we've had them in Crete, we've had them in Romania, right? So based on short-term mobility, right, intensive training weeks have been offered for students, right, bringing them the opportunity to get a very rich exchange of ideas and cultures and also of training. All this, of course, involving credit mobility, because this is not, of course, offering our students holidays, it's offering them, right, a true and solid training process. So the idea is that students are now part of a diverse academic community, right, and they must feel part of it, and must take advantage of the opportunities that this brings to them. So, for example, we have multilateral mobility agreements, more or less based on the well-known Erasmus framework, right? That now makes mobility within the Alliance much easier, right? And also having, right, all the advantages that we find in belonging to this larger, right, institution that the European Alliance is. So, what is INGENIUM? An alliance, 10 universities, very diverse, right, aiming at not only diversity, of course, but at excellence in education at all levels.
That's incredible. We get to see the kind of the breadth of both the complexity there and also the potential. And as you mentioned there at MTU, our colleague Dr. Una O'Brien has been running the digital wellbeing module, which has had students from across the Alliance and staff from across the Alliance, like Laura Hawkinen from XAMF and others. And I've seen firsthand the impact of that on the students who came here for the in-person lab week. And it was really incredible to see that, cultural opportunity, to see them all collaborating and everything. That's incredible. So I guess that's maybe kind of a tangible kind of impact that I've seen firsthand. And the Alliance has been running now since 2022, if I'm correct. Maybe can you tell us a bit more about the tangible impacts that you're starting to see at this point, kind of 2 years into the project?
Yeah, as you're saying, right, a module like the one that was offered by MTU, some people may think, oh, this is just a minor thing. I mean, it's just a few credits, right, taking very few students. But this is a very important step toward, right, what we aim at doing, right? We're sharing our teaching staff, we are putting all our students together towards the same academic aim, right? We are working with recognition and acknowledgement, right, of each other's activities. So this is really, really important. And yeah, we officially started, right, in January 23 after, right, so we were awarded the funding in 2022. So we are at the end of the second year of the funding period. There are 2 ahead, right? And we hope there will be more coming, right? Hopefully, otherwise, right, we would need to find ways to, right, guarantee that we are sustainable in time. And we are getting to a moment, right, in which it's not only about mobility for a short period or for a short a part of a course or for a short module, right? We're aiming, right, and we're really setting the grounds for that, right, for a true joint academic offer, right? So quite recently, right, in the Alliance Council meeting that took place in October, right, we come to an agreement, right, to start working toward a series of joint programs, one at bachelor's level in entrepreneurship and innovation, and 4 master's programs. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one was in nursing, or one will be nursing, and if artificial intelligence, biochemical processes, and sustainable development, right? So we will start with a number of degrees, undergraduate and postgraduate, that will really, right, have us all collaborating towards this common aim, which is joint programs. The idea is that all partners will be somehow involved in one or more of them, right? This, of course, right, will be I think, right, the turning point for the future of the Alliance. We've also done many other things. For example, even though we are more focused on education, because the European Universities Initiative is actually part of the educational side of the Commission's projects, right? We are really proud of the recent call for research groups, right? So using some funds from the Alliance, we've now got more than 20 research groups that have been established within the Alliance, right, and that are beginning to produce, right, their own research and publications. And of course, as you all know, right, when you put researchers together, when you put teachers together under the same project, right, more and more projects come after that, right? So it's a kind of seed funding on the part of the academics, right? So we're focusing on the students first, and we must not forget about the academics. What's there for me in INGENIUM, right? Opportunities for mobility, for collaboration, for research, right? And actually we have been analyzing, right, our research infrastructures, finding ways they can be shared by all the researchers. So very interesting ways to collaborate there as well. More things that we're proud of. I'm particularly proud of the Equity and Inclusion Charter that was signed by the rectors and presidents in October, and also by the Healthy Campus Principles that were also signed as a commitment by all members of the Alliance quite recently, because I think that this common philosophy of the Alliance, right, what lies behind the front desk degrees and things, right, is really, really important. We have a common philosophy, we have common values, and we have really committed ourselves to all those principles. So the fact that have been signed by all the rectors, that we've come to agreements on that, is really, really something I'm proud of.
And there's a lot there, and obviously this seems to be a lot done in the last kind of coming towards 2 years. So maybe take the opportunity to congratulate you and everyone involved so far. And with, I suppose, the INGENIUM project, there's obviously a lot of universities and moving parts and people come together, and you mentioned research and academics and technical staff and all that. You flagged one challenge around sustainability. Is there any other kind of maybe challenge that you've had, and how have you navigated those?
Oh yeah, well, you've mentioned it. Yeah, sustainability is an issue, right? And there are two sides to this. One, sustainability in terms of, right, for example, our carbon footprint, right? We're traveling a lot, we're having meetings so we are now rethinking, right, of the way we're doing things, even though most meetings, for example, we try to do them online. Every now and then we really need to in person, right? So we are analyzing our impact, and we are trying to keep that as low as possible. Actually, we have some checklists for our events so as to keep our impacts as low as possible. But when I use the word sustainability, I also use it as to how sustainable INGENIUM is in the long term, right? So we really had concerns of that, because the funding period will end soon, right? Only 2 years ahead. We're quite uncertain as to the Commission's intentions on this, right? So what we need to do, right, is make sure that our local and national authorities, especially those that are funding us as institutions, are really committed to our aims and really understand what we need to do and what we aim at doing. So no matter what happens in 2 years from now on the side of the Commission, right, we want to make sure that the Alliance is sustainable. This said, right, being said, I think that one other challenge that we find is based on the actual nature of the Alliance. We say that the Alliance is a diverse alliance, and diversity is enriching, but also a source of debate and a source of problem. So differences in legal frameworks, in academic regulations are sometimes a great challenge. But then minor things like social traditions or academic calendars or holiday seasons, right? So there are many aspects that you tend to take for granted, right? I don't know, you're setting in a meeting December the 8th. No, it's a holiday in Spain and in Italy. Okay, I mean, it's a minor thing, but it is not. So you always need to rethink, right, from a totally different point of view. Now you've got 10 communities, so different, right? So it's nice, right? Sometimes it's a bit difficult. So what do? Communication and collaboration all the time, right? We try to keep communication flowing, right? I'm particularly proud of the atmosphere we have among the universities and their representatives, right? And I think we're all very respectful to differences, and we're always trying to find ways to collaborate and to mitigate those aspects and those challenges that derive from our diversity. And actually, we're at a moment now where we are facing a real challenge, which has to do with legal aspects. For example, it's really hard to hire anyone for the Alliance because it has no legal status. So everyone working for the technical secretariat is actually working for the University of Oviedo. And we have many moments at which, right, having our own legal entity, right, would be much more beneficial for us. So one of the things that is being done now is analyzing the best way to establish a legal entity for the Alliance, right? And hopefully 2025 will be the year of the legal entity for the Alliance. We have explored a number of options. A couple of them seem to be the most appropriate ones. And of course, it will be on the side of the rectors and presidents to decide on. At the moment, we are in principle moving towards what is called a European grouping of territorial cooperation. Sounds very complicated, right? But actually, we hope it will make life simpler for us in legal terms. So that is probably the most important challenge at the moment. If we really succeed in that, right, we will ease the way for many things.
Yeah, really interesting. And I guess you've kind of hinted at the future then. The big thing for 2025, as you said, is going to be the idea of the legal entity. Even thinking beyond that, even more future focused, what do you see as the future of INGENIUM in 5 to 10 years? What does it look like for the staff and the students? What do you think? What's the future for INGENIUM?
I'm totally optimistic on this side, and I'm sure in 5, of course, in 10 years, right? INGENIUM will be a totally solid institution, like most European institutions, European universities will be. Well, to my opinion, right, by then, right, we will, if we, of course, can guarantee our sustainability on the financial side, we will already have developed a solid joint academic offer, not only with those bachelor's and master's degrees that I was mentioning, right, a whole range of new ways of approaching, right, higher education will be developed. At this moment, we are working on micro-credentials, which is a much more agile way of offering training that is adapted to the changing needs of society. I'm sure that by then, we will also have developed a solid offer of what is called open degrees, right, which are based on a philosophy that has the student, right, making the most important decisions as to their training program, right? In some cultures, like the Spanish one, for example, where we have a fixed set of courses that you need to take. And if that needs to be changed, it takes ages to change the whole program, right? A much more agile system, right, we hope will be developed. So the idea is that I'm quite sure that in 5 years from now, we will have developed this solid academic offer, and all our teaching and research staff, right, will have this sense of belonging to the community. So mobility will be, in a sense, smoother than it is now, even though we already have lots of the students and staff already, right, moving from university to university. This is the fifth freedom of Europe, right, toward joint education, right? So I think that will be, I mean, I'm totally optimistic about the future of the Alliance, and I think we are taking the correct steps. Of course, we will continue, I'm sure, with short programs like those associated to the 10 days of INGENIUM. We will continue with other programs, I'm sure, that are tremendously popular or becoming tremendously popular among students and staff, like the blended programs, right? Because we tend to think of, just physical mobility, right, or no mobility at all. There are other ways, right, to do things. So blended programs, right, are also in the near future, I think.
I guess the great thing about the future is that there are always potentials and possibilities that we don't even foresee yet. All that collaboration will lead to things that we haven't even thought of, which is a wonderful thing about something like this.
Yeah, and I think as well, I suppose, as a staff member who was at the 10 days in INGENIUM in Crete last year, the opportunity to meet different people, experience the culture, the food, the lifestyle, how they do things, and get to know people from other universities. It is a great opportunity, and one that I'd recommend to any, staff member that's listening. The other thing, just in conversations with people here, I think a student recently that went on that trip to Crete, the 10 days in INGENIUM, I think found love over in Crete, and I think that person has moved back here. So any of the students listening, I think that might be something to worth going for the 10 days in INGENIUM and also. And I suppose we're coming towards the end of the conversation. Is there anything that you'd like, I suppose, the students, the staff, people listening, the INGENIUM audience here that are listening, is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. I mean, one, right, if you see a call for an INGENIUM activity, right, apply, right? You're going to benefit from it greatly because, right, whatever we offer, we're sure is positive, right? Like the 10 days in INGENIUM and other projects that we are proposing at the moment. Second, if you're a student, if you're in the student representative world, right, please do collaborate with us, right? We sometimes find it hard to get students engaged in our governance organs, right? I always say be, in this sense, be positive, right? And think that maybe you will not be benefiting yourself very much, right? But you're working for future students, right? So if you give us the student's point of view, right, we will make sure that this comes to positive results for future students. And I always say, right, there are many things happening, so many that sometimes it's difficult to list them. So the idea is I want everyone who's listening and who may belong to our community to make sure that they keep an eye on the INGENIUM website, on our social media channels. Maybe that I would suggest that people subscribe to the newsletters. This is the best way to be informed about all the opportunities that the Alliance has on offer. And also, to know a bit more about what we are doing and what we want INGENIUM to become in the near future. So the message is, you are part of INGENIUM, be proud of it.
So thank you, Anna, for taking time to speak with us today. I think we've all learned a lot about the role as a director, the various challenges, and more importantly, the opportunities within INGENIUM. We hope that you found that insightful, and we encourage you to reach out to your local INGENIUM representative, sign up to the newsletter, and do get involved. You can find links in the episode description.
In our next episode, we will speak to Dr. Sean McSweeney about his role as INGENIUM Project Coordinator, or IPC, at Munster Technological University. Do keep an eye out for that episode coming soon, and please do subscribe to the podcast wherever you stream your podcasts from. Thanks for listening.